Oh hey, almost didn't see you there. This is Brandon, owner Davidson Audio from the future. And why do you ask if I'm from the future? Well, guess what? As I said in the outro from last video, we are shooting this part a couple of weeks after we shot the actual video. And why? Because guess what? I didn't want to take up all y'all's time. So instead of making one super long video, we cut it in half. Give you all a Chieftain Disassembly where we tore this whole thing down to a bare neck and went over the HHI 21 fat tire and 23-inch rake kit components. And now it is time to get the punch, get the race punched out, and get that HHI rake kit installed on our 2019 Indian Chieftain shop bike, which will be the same process for 19 and newer Chieftains, Roadmasters, the same bike, just some extra accessories and a little heavier. So, that being said, thank you all for being patient. I hope you enjoy the rest of this video, and I cannot wait to get our SMT machining wheel set installed on this bike and show you how it all turned out. All right, at this point we are so close to getting the rake kit installed. We do have one last part to disassemble of this, and this is the OEM bearing race, which is in the neck. So what we're gonna try to do is, I don't have the right punch for it, so we're hoping that this punch that I went and picked up from Home Depot, really nice long punch, just got the one tip, a mini sledge, and a pair of safety glasses, and we'll be able to get this race punched out. Now the reason I say it's not the right punch is because there's a notch in the front of the stem and in the rear. I can get the punch from the front to the back and hit the race, but I can't get to the front. So I'm hoping I'm able to give it some taps, and that way it'll slide out without hitting both sides. We're gonna give it a whack and see what happens. Race did pop right on out. I was expecting that to be a lot more of an ordeal, but it popped right on out. So for those of you who don't know what a race is, I'm gonna grab the OEM rake and give you kind of a visual of what the race and bearing, how it works together. And then we're gonna get this cleaned up and start getting the aftermarket stuff installed. All right, here is our OEM triple tree lower clamp with the steering stem. I don't know what you want to call this. I don't have the right terminology here offhand. We're going to take this off. All right, here is the OEM triple tree, the lower part of the triple tree with the center shaft. And at the bottom of the shaft here is a set of bearings. So that's the bearings that are pressed onto here. And this will be the race that's in the stem. So what happens is, when this is tightened down, the bearings seat in the race because they're beveled just right. So that's what you're getting the turn out of at the bottom. And at the top, there's a sealed bearing to hold up here. So between the two, that's where you get your alignment and your pivoting back and forth. So that's really in a nutshell what how the bearing and race work together. So let's go ahead and get this all cleaned up and prepped. And we're gonna try a little trick on getting the race in here easier without damaging it. So let's get cleaning. All right. All right, so at this point, we've wiped this out really good. We inspected it. There's only one little itty bitty spot way at the bottom where that punch got away from us, and it tapped the collet here, but I'm not too terribly worried about it. It's way below where the race is going to be, so we'll just be careful from here on out. Now, one thing I do want to try, which I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I've heard a lot of people talk about when installing races and bearings, you heat them up or cool them down, the metal contracts and expands just enough for it to go in easier. So what we're going to do is, we've already put the new race in the freezer. It's been in there for quite a while. I've been told it doesn't even be there that long. What I want to do is, I'm going to use a heat gun And I'm gonna try to get this neck nice and warm to hopefully expand it just enough. And with the race frozen, so the neck will be expanded and the race will be shrunk. I'm hoping it's just enough to where we can either slide it up in here or give it a couple of light taps and really seat it in there, let everything cool down, heat back up, and get in there nice and tight, so that way we don't have to worry about anything. So we're gonna give this a try. I'm not terribly sure if it's actually going to work or not. So if it doesn't work, I'll let you know. If it does, cool, and it's a little trick you can use. So let's go for it. All right, now we just pulled this on out of the freezer. This is super warm, so let's see. Now just hold it up here. Let the two metals. Wow, okay, that worked out way better than I thought. Literally dropped right in. So, and the race is already the same temperature as the stem. So we're gonna give that some time to cool off, and let's actually head over to the workbench. We'll get the handlebar bushings swapped over to the new triple trees, and then we'll come back and get it installed. All right, now it's time to take off the couple of things that we're gonna be using off the OEM upper triple tree, which is going to be the handlebar riser bushings, the fork lock here, and we'll take off this thing for the clutch line right here. Do you remember in our disassembly? So we'll go ahead and take our 6mm Allen. We'll go ahead and get the lock off, and then we'll take our flathead screwdriver and take off the riser bushings. And just like that, we have everything off of here that we want. I did put these screws and this screw back in here just in case we want them later, or if we don't, then they're there. So set that aside. Let's go ahead and get this reassembled. And just for quick, just to, to let people know, these bushings are the same in the spacer, so it doesn't matter whether it's top, bottom, it's the same. So don't worry about these being in a certain orientation. They'll go on just fine. So what we're gonna have to do first is flip our rake kit over. Right here, we gotta tap these little billet spacers in for the handlebar riser bushings. Just like that, a couple good little love taps. As you could see in the video, I did do it in a constant motion. Don't just hit one side, because then it'll kick it sideways. We're gonna go ahead and put these in from the front side, just like that. Alrighty, that part's good. So now let's switch over to our standard 1/4 inch, and we're gonna put our lock assembly on here, and I'm going to use a little bit of red lock sealer here, red sealer. So when you set this in here, make sure the smooth arch part goes down into it, and this little pin is up, because that's what goes into the bike and allows you to lock the forks. And just like that, this is pretty much ready to go. I think the only thing we may do is, we're gonna reuse this screw with the line holder guide. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a pick and I'm just gonna clean out these threads. We'll put it in there loose for right now because I want to wait till we get the clutch cable and everything back on the bike. And then we'll give it a crank at the end. So let's go back to the bike and start getting the triple trees installed. Now at this point, we've completely stripped everything down. We punched the old race out. We did the technique to get the new race in, and this is all back to being room temperature. We are going to triple check, and that race is 100% seated all the way up as it will go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our new triple tree clamp right here, and this one we had a shop in town put the bearing on it. They went ahead and pressed the bearing on there. They lubed it up for us, so we don't need to put any more lube on it. What I'm actually going to do is make sure I clean the bottom part of this off and the rest of the triple tree before we get it on there. So let's do that real quick. All right, now we got it all cleaned off, so we're going to go ahead and put it in here. They already packed the bearings and they got a really good amount on here, so I'm not worried about putting more in here. So what we're going to do is take the triple tree, we're going to slide it up in here. Just like that. And then we're gonna start tightening down the nut. And what you wanna do is you'll see there's a flat spot on top and a beveled spot at the bottom. Make sure the bevel is down. And we're gonna go ahead and put it on here. The future. All jokes aside, this is technically the future from when this video was shot, because guess what? In the video that I shot, I was going to tell you all not to do what I was going to do because we were setting this top nut that requires a spanner socket, and we were going to put it on here, and I was going to use a punch and go back and forth until I found the correct tension or torque spec on there that you should have, because at the time I didn't really want to go hunting down this socket. But fast forward now, it's been probably about 2 weeks since we've shot this video, and I went and got the correct socket. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna show you how to properly torque the lower triple tree clamp center shaft with the spanner nut and the correct spanner socket according to what Indian wants you to do. All right, now we got a better view, so hopefully y'all can see this a lot clearer. The first thing we're going to want to do is install the top nut. And remember, like I said, the top is flat and the bottom has a collet/lip. This goes down towards the upper bearing. So let's go ahead and throw that on. Just hand tight for right now. And then what we're going to do is now get our socket and our torque wrench and set it to 29 foot-pounds. And go ahead and get this torqued. The first thing I want to do though is rotate this to the right. That way I can get it properly torqued. All right, we got it set to 29 foot-pounds, and now we are going to give it a nice torque. All right, now we have this torque to 29 foot-pounds, and now what we're gonna do is, like I said, we're gonna go from full lock to the right to full left and back 5 times, and then we're gonna address this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now, once it's back to the full right lock position, we're going to go ahead and mark one of these teeth, which I'm going to pick this one so you can see it, with my paint marker. And we're going to mark not only this, let me see if this is going to want to cooperate. So You can at least see there's a little bit of a mark here, and we did get a little bit there. So now we're gonna switch to our ginormous breaker bar, which is completely overkill. It's just my tools are packed up, and this is the first thing that I found. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go on here, and we're gonna take it from this tooth. We're gonna loosen it to where this tooth is lined up with that very carefully. And just like that, according to Indian, that's it. That's all she wrote. So now, continue back to our original program. Moving forward, we are going to install the upper triple tree clamp. And just to make sure you remember, you want all 4 of these holes facing the front because that's what the fairing bolts onto. So don't put it on like this to where your holes are in the back, your lock's facing forward. It goes like this. It simply just drops on right here, so you can get all the way around. And then you're gonna drop your washer on here first. And you're gonna take your nut. There's a beveled side and then a flat side. Take the flat side, put it on here, and the owner's manual does say just finger tighten this because you're not going to torque it down until we get the fork tubes installed. So that's what we're doing right now. There you go. Now it's finger tight. And what we're going to do now is we're going to jack the bike back up, shimmy the fork tubes up in here, get them aligned, torque all these down, torque this down, and then we can get the bike back reassembled. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get the front end of this bike put back together. I'm not gonna go into super detail on the reverse part of this, seeing that we went into really good depth, disassembling everything just in sake of time and everything. But we will stop like when we go to torque this, and then I will go over the torque specs of a couple different things again. But one thing do to note when you are going to reassemble the bike at this point, do not forget your cowbells. If you put your forks on first, you will not be able to put these on. So make sure these go on first. You're gonna put them back on. And a quick tip for them, if you look at the front of them, they are rounded here, and there's a tab here, and then where I have them pinched together, it's flat, whereas this side's rounded. So when you go to put them on, imagine this is the clutch side and this is the brake side. These are going to be to the back, the flat spots are going to be towards the center, and the rounded spots you're going to head towards the outside. And again, this is a T30. We're going to loosely put them on there. We're going to throw a little bit of Loctite in here and get them put on, and then we're going to go ahead and reassemble the bike. One thing, how we're going to be doing it is we're going to put the fork tubes in here, even them out, snug these just a little bit so they hold them, and then we're going to put the axle shaft back in and make sure that the fork ends are straight and everything's good. And then we're gonna go through the sequence of tightening all these, and then we'll torque this down and we'll go over all that as we go as well. So let's get after it. Now we're going to go ahead and torque the top triple tree pinch clamps and the lowers. The owner's manual specifies the tops to be at 18 foot-pounds and the bottom to be at 23 foot-pounds. So we're going to convert this over to inch-pounds because my foot-pound torque wrench doesn't go that low. Even my inch-pound goes down to like 250-ish, which is just over what we need, but it'll put us where we need to. So we're going to go ahead and torque these real quick. I'll put the torque specs up here somewhere. So let's give these a torque, and then we're going to torque this top nut, and then we're going to finish reassembling. Just like that, all the important torque specs are good to go. And now everything looks good. We went over it again. So now let's go ahead and start getting everything put back on the bike and get this thing fully reassembled. And just like that, we have gone through the entire process of installing an HHI bolt-on rake kit that we got from the folks over at Vic Baggers. The purpose of this rake kit is to allow you to install either a 23-inch normal front wheel or a 21.55, which is what you already know we got for this bike. So that's the process. By no means am I saying this is your instruction manual for doing this kit. It is simply a guide to help you through the process, or at least show you how to do it, so that way you know what you're getting into before you go buy this kit. Please look into the service manual as far as all the torque specs. I'll try to post all of them in the videos for you all to help you along the process. But just overall, it wasn't that hard of a process to do. There is a couple of things I do want to go back out and check, which is that spanner nut that holds on the bottom triple tree, and just shake down everything. And as you saw, we did put the OEM front wheel, fender, and brakes back on. We are just doing this so we can get it around the garage. I don't have a whole lot of room here to just put parts wherever. So we're gonna move it over. The fender is at paint currently, so we'll be getting that next week. So the following video, we will be installing our 21.55 fat front tire, our aftermarket matching wheel, which is the same size as the OEM in the rear, new brakes, and the fender, and getting this job completely wrapped up and doing a reveal of how this bike looks completely done. So thank you very much for sticking through this very long video. I know it was a long one, but it was informative, help you all to get through this process. That being said, I'm Brandon Davidson, the owner of Davidson Audio, and I'm out.